And we're back once again here with Tom and Alex. And lads, I think we can safely say without even checking this week that we didn't get that prediction correct for the Burnley game. We ended up running away with it in the end with another fantastic result. But before we get into any of that, I wanted to first of all talk about this massive news that could be Lloyd Kelly coming to Newcastle United. Heavily rumoured now.
When you were saying massive news, I was like, have I missed something here? I was thinking, what are you going to drop on here? Oh, it's transfer news, so I guess it is news. It's been going on for quite a while now, but it seems like it's becoming more firm, as in, bigger journalists are starting to report on it, like Romano, it seems like that's one which is going to happen sooner rather than later. And to be honest, I don't mind it at all. Dan Burns getting on. You know Eddie likes to play him left back, left to centre half. Lloyd Kelly can come in and just obviously he's worked with him before as well, so should be a nice little transition for a minimal signing on fee.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that move as well. I know we've discussed that would need defenders coming in, and definitely defenders that are going to bring the age gap down a little bit. He's coming in at 25 years old. He's played quite a number of Premier League games now, so he's of the capable standard to come in and be a first team player or be a good rotation player, and we know we definitely need rotation players going into next season with the struggles we've had this season. So yeah, I have to agree it's a smart move.
Yeah, and with Botman going to miss the start of next season as well by all measures, then yeah, we definitely need someone who can challenge for that first team place. I wonder if he will be touted as the number one starting centre back, or if it's guaranteed that Botman is always going to be starting, if he's fit. I think it's probably more likely Botman's going to start, but it'll be interesting to see if he can come in and really push for that first team spot. But what do you think about the Tosin rumours as well? Do you think this kind of puts that one to bed, or the fact that this guy's left side, Tosin's right side, which could still be on for that deal as well?
Yeah, I think it would be sensible to keep looking at the Tosin one. Again, he's 26, so he's certainly a lot younger than Fabian Schär is. We've had to have Kraft coming in and filling in that position in the last few games, which he's done to certain degrees of decent standards, but he's certainly not a centre-half by trade, and one that we want to be having as a backup to Schär going into next season. Obviously, we know the Lascelles situation is still, with him being out injured, is going to mean that we do need to have somebody coming in. And yeah, I think it's another sensible move of somebody who's got a lot of Premier League experience now, having played quite a few games at Fulham, and yeah, I think make that move as well. I hope they do. Tottenham sound as if they're out of the running for him now. It's kind of looking unlikely he's going to go there. He's obviously not going to be staying at Fulham past the end of this season, so it's whether or not there's rumours of foreign clubs in AC Milan and a couple of other Italian teams having a look. But yeah, I think we could definitely put ourselves in pole position to get his signature as well.
Yeah, you see, obviously being linked with Tottenham and him ruling himself out of that move is probably because at this stage of his career he wants to be playing regular first team football, and with Romero van der Ven, he's not going to. Let's be honest. Dragason's came in January and he's barely played a minute. So with Schär getting on a little bit, maybe Eddie can sell that to him that yeah, you might not walk straight in over Schär, but let's be honest, he goes down with a head injury every game. And he is getting on in years. Like you can see his pace is whatever pace he had. He's starting to lose that as well. So I think there's a good roadmap for him to get first team place, and I'd be quite happy with that, to be fair, because like he's been in the Premier League for a while and he's a solid player. And I think if you compare him to Share, they're not too dissimilar in sort of like the style of play. They like to play with the ball, like they like to pass it out. Strong. And I think he's probably better in the air than Share as well. So yeah, again, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Like, not paying a transfer fee. Yeah, you'll pay a signing-on fee. Yes, I know people might not be happy with him getting $100,000 a week, but like, he's free. Like, you're gonna have to pay a little bit extra for a signing-on fee and a wage when you get not paying a transfer fee. So but financially, again for Newcastle, it's a no-brainer. If we can't get both of those in, then that's just like money we can spend on other positions. So if you think of it that way, then like, do you really need to get another centre half in? If we've got sort of Share, Lascelles for the right side, you've got Botman, Lloyd, Kelly, and Byrne for the left side. Like, I think that's enough cover to go in, even with the European football into next season, and then you can just focus on other places we need to reinforce, like the right wing. So yeah, I'm hoping both of these get done, to be fair. Like,
yeah, I think what you were saying there about wanting first team football as well makes a lot of sense. And I think before he got injured just now, Shea started every game this season, whether he's on the left or the right. Mm-hmm. But I would imagine if Eddie could have, he would have rotated. I'm sure he definitely would see next season someone like Tosin come in, share the load straight away, and then
share
obviously
the load.
hey. In other positions though, like you say with the right wing, there's rumours of this Arsenal kid, isn't there? Let me see if I can pronounce his name before we get too far down. Mario Dubbery. Sorry if I butchered that name.
That's probably good enough.
I think Arsenal are trying to tie him down to a long contract, aren't they? But he hasn't signed one yet, so it could be that we're persuading him to come over as well, which, again, is probably one for the future. But it's good to see us doing these moves, even though Dan Ashworth's not working anymore.
Well, yeah, I think the academy, we've highlighted it many times before that the standards throughout the last few years has been pretty poor, and that we've not brought enough good players through, and that poaching some talents from other academies, successful academies, and trying to put them through ours and build up standards that way is a possible route. Obviously, we've seen Harrison, that signing that was done in Jan, poaching him from City's academy. We've had players already signed from Arsenal's academy previously. The lad who plays for Leicester, Mavididi, his brother, was poached from Arsenal's academy, and he's been in our under-18s. So again, like there's obviously a route there. We've got connections, and yeah, we can definitely sell to this young lad like the same that we've done with Harrison. That there's a pathway into our first team if you knuckle down and work hard and everything else, that you can find your way through. And the right wing, as we know, Miggy is unlikely to be. He's certainly not the long-term future. We know we've got Minty, who we can have a look at again in pre-season for potentially taking that spot longer term. But again, nothing's given. So yeah, if we can get this lad in, he's being touted as another Saka style player, which is, if that turns out great, then we're on to a winner. So yeah, why not? Again, it's these sort of signings which might go under the radar to the majority of fans, but like it makes a big difference once we have players who are coming through the academy knowing the system that Eddie wants them to play, so that they're doing that throughout the academy system, and then coming into the first team and hopefully being ready to go. Whereas previous managers and previous regimes have failed to kind of help that pathway for the academy players to make a success in the first team.
Well, you just need to look at like the guys who came through the academy in recent years. They're all Geordies, they're all from up here. We haven't poached them from anywhere else. Like, there'll be stories coming out probably every month or two where City have signed some youngster from like Wolves Academy or whatever like that. Like, you see it so often. You just don't even like, it doesn't even register. But it's like 15, 16, 17-year-old. If we can just start getting this ball rolling of like building up our academy, then in years' time, that's when like it'll prosper. And not only with like the level of talent, but City's coaching. Like, obviously Pep's been there so long now that they can implement that style of play like all the way down the age groups. So then when you get people like Oscar Bob coming through, he already plays the same way that City play, and he has done for years coming through the academy. So it's not just like as I said, the specific talents of the players, but like the coaching all the way through. And that's going to take a long time to get anywhere near like the top sort of couple of sides anyways. But yeah, baby steps. And if we can get this lad in, then especially when Arsenal do want to re-sign him as well, then you'd think it's some kind of message of intent.
Yeah, and then we'll have the next Saka and the next Phil Foden both coming through. So we'll be on the fucking road.
Titles ours.
It kind of leads us on to the Dougie Freedman. Is it Freeman or Friedman? Rumours.
Freed from Desire.
Oh, yes. The chance write themselves. Looks like he could be coming in from Palace. Heavily rumoured now again. What do you make to that one? Because there's been quite a few names like being touted to fill Dan Ashworth's spot. And to be honest, he wasn't like top of my list in terms of the name. But when you look more into him, he's done a very, very good job at Palace. So what are you thinking? Excited or a bit disappointed?
It's still, I think, for a lot of fans generally, like the director of football role is still relatively new to your average fan, like trying to get excited about it. Yeah, we can get excited about managers and get excited about players because, you know, it's obvious like what those guys can do and deliver. Director of football is obviously becoming more and more important as we go on in football. It's definitely the modern way of doing things. And we obviously know what Dan Ashworth's been able to do in his short spell. But Freedman's been at Palace for a long spell now, good 10 years, I think, of bringing through players from academies and also touting. I think his skill and his skill set is definitely looking down the leagues into the Football League and picking out like players with talent from lower leagues that can be brought in and have a platform to play in a Premier League team. Obviously, Eze and Elise are the like top two names you'd say in most recent times who have come from Championship and, you know, look like Champions League, especially the other night against Man U. They were absolutely class, and I'd love for us to be looking at either one of those players coming to us. But yeah, I think that's a smart move again with PSR and the fact that we can't necessarily go out of Europe and slap 100 million on players as we would like to. Having somebody who has good connections in the Football League where we can try and be a bit shrewder and find like talent there for, you know, smaller fees and then develop them and potentially then have increase their value tenfold. Like, I think that might just be a smart move.
Yeah, like I'm quite indifferent when it comes to like the names which are being mentioned because probably I don't know enough about them. So yeah, with Freedman as well, I I don't know if there's any like positive or negative sort of thoughts I have towards it. As Paige said, he has a decent track record or a recent track record of pulling these players through at Palace. So if it happens and our owners think he's the best man for the job, then who am I to say? Who am I to argue? So yeah, it's one of those. When it happens, if it happens, just fingers crossed he can carry on doing even as good a job as he has at Palace. But you think he'll have increased resources, he'll have a bigger scouting team, he'll have more money behind him to try and unearth these gems. So yeah, I don't think it would be a bad appointment as far as they go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just getting the right person in terms of, like you say, the owners in their minds saying he's the right person quickly, for me is important. I know some people have been, it doesn't really matter, we'll do this transfer window, no bother without someone. But for me, I'd rather fill the role as quickly as possible, as long as, they, in their minds, thinking he's the right candidate. And yeah, he has got a good record when you kind of look into him and stuff. And he's also, like, he's ex-player, ex-manager as well. So, he's like a proper footballing guy. Whereas I don't think Dan Ashworth ever really did anything in the game before working at that sort of level higher up, did he? I don't know. Maybe talking out my arse there. But.
Not that I know of anyway, sorry.
No, I don't think he was a player of any kind of, or certainly not of Freedman's level. So you'd think that might play into like our favour as well. Like Eddie might be able to generate a better like connection and understand and camaraderie with somebody who's like-minded and played to a decent level.
Do you think this will affect the move for Dan Ashworth to Man U now? Like, once we get someone in, do you think we'll soften up a little bit on letting him go, or do you think it makes no difference? We're just going to be playing hardball no matter what?
I think we'd certainly have a value on what we think Ashworth's worth, and we're not going to be mugged off by Man U trying to get him for cheap and stuff. Like we have to set a precedent there. Like, we're not one of these like smaller teams now that these top six sides could just bully and get whoever they wanted from. Like, I think we have to be like hard on our value. So yeah, I think we'll still hold out for as long as possible. But I know that Ashworth's taken us to arbitration now, so it just depends on how messy we want to let things go in that sense. Or if we just decide, all right, okay, well, we'll just part ways and just accept a fee for his compensation. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think getting Freedman in necessarily changes how we'll think about that palaver.
Right. In that case, let's discuss that Burnley result. And what a result it was. Down Turf Moor, obviously turned them over in the end. But looking back at the predictions, to be fair to you, you both predicted the win.
Yeah, so did Leo by the sounds of it.
My dog's getting excited by remembering that result.
Yeah, no, I knew it was going to be, or at least I thought it was going to be a tougher game. I know we'd said in the preview that it was going to be a tough one, and that they had so much riding on it. And yeah, results in other games did not go their way either. So it's really put them in a really bad position, and likely that they're going to be relegated now. But yeah, just I mean, we started the game, I felt again a little bit under the cosh. Like it was another sort of like Sheffield United, the Sheffield United game, a little bit of a sort of strange feeling of like, yeah, we were going to be right up against it, but then once we rode that dodgy part of the first half, and then it just exploded into life after that. And yeah, the goals just flooded in after that.
Yeah, it seems to be like a trend of where we're so poorly in these games. And I'm saying these games, all fucking games. Like, we've got no control over like the midfield, and like it turned into a proper basketball match, like really early on as well. Like, they had good chances, they just couldn't finish them. And we were just lucky that obviously having Isak and Wilson on the pitch paid dividends in the end. Since Isak missed his chance, then Wilson put in the rebound. So yeah, I'm relieved because I don't think it was a great performance despite the scoreline, and I think it could have went a lot differently if they just took one of their chances early on as opposed to us. Well, it's taking ours, yeah.
Well, it was again a different kind of formation setup, and he tweaked things again for a different team, which was interesting to see. Obviously, like you just mentioned, he brought Wilson in. But he did seem to change it in game, maybe 10, 15 minutes in, to kind of counterbalance what they were doing. And then it seemed like, whether it was just coincidence or not, but it seemed like after that we did take control of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like how much do you enjoy seeing that now with Eddie, like getting things kind of changed in game that maybe we've been a little bit critical of him before for not doing it early enough?
Yeah, it's massive. Like it's something which, yeah, you have to be able to do as a top level manager. You have to see if the pattern of the game is going the opposite way to how you want it, and react quickly to it. I certainly think he did to counteract their right winger or right wing back Asenyon, who was just getting so much space and time in behind. Like, he was finding those holes far too often. He was a real danger man. But then, like you say, yeah, we tweaked it slightly and kind of like shut that space out. And Hall was, because we were finding like Hall and Tino were again too high up, and it at times when and that was where they were getting in behind us. We've talked about that previously as well. Happened against Sheffield United, but yeah, tweaked it, and obviously then Hall for me like had one of his best games. Like after that, riding that early patch, and was quicker to get to Asenyon, and quicker to then get upfield and counter their attack, and I think we've got quite a few goals coming from that side of the field as a result. So yeah, it was smart of Eddie to tweak it as he did.
Like, how long did we say like Eddie's going to start 4-3-3 and that's how we're going to play? Like, if a player's injured in that position, we'll bring someone else on, but they'll just fit that hole in that position, in that formation, and we're not going to deviate. And now we're playing like a different formation every game to suit like whoever we're playing. Like, it's good to see. And another thing is that like Isak has obviously been in ridiculous form, and Wilson's now come back, and people probably thought like, oh, what is Isak going to be pushed out wide? Wilson come through the middle? Is Wilson going to get in the team at all? And it just shows that like he can switch things around to get like the best out of his best players. Because again, Wilson's came in, he scored a couple of goals in a couple of games already. So it's not like, oh, we're just putting him in there because when he gets some minutes, or I don't know. But there was that like period after like maybe like half an hour where it felt like we were going to score with every attack. Like, we really did have them on the ropes for that sort of second half, the first half or whatever. And well, obviously the goals did come, and it became quite a comfortable game in the end.
Yeah, their heads just went like very proper. Like much like after that, like probably the second goal, like it just looked as though like they completely deflated, and like obviously we capitalised on with the third goal with like they were trying to bring it out from defence, and like we won the ball up so high, like, and then
Dan Burn, man, what a player.
I know, yeah. Burn just coming in, like, it was aggressive and like, but that's what I like when we like we've got a team like that, like on the ropes, we go for the jugular and like we don't let up, and it's obviously we just had people queuing up in the end for goals and probably should have had a few more by the end of it, but yeah, it was it partly obviously Burnley just collapsing like around themselves, but like it was a lot of it down to just our sheer intensity as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I just pick up on the Lewis Hall thing you mentioned. Like, it's great to see him now kind of playing like he was at Chelsea before we bought him, getting into that first team. And a lot of people are mentioning the fact that Eddie makes you wait until he feels you're ready to put you in, and then it does look like he's waited and he is ready. So hopefully now we've got like a first choice left back there, and he'll play for the rest of the season, which will be interesting to see what happens when Trippier comes back, whether he gets straight in or not, and if he does, whether Tino gets pushed to the left and then Lewis Hall misses out. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But back to Wilson. There's two things with Wilson I wanted to mention. One's with the Isak penalty miss. Do you think Wilson trying to take the penalty affected Isak at all? Because I don't know if you've noticed, Wilson went to take it. Like, he was basically saying, like, I'm the pen taker, which you can't blame him for, because he has been the pen taker, like, for the past however many seasons. So he probably thinks I'm on the pitch, so I'm pen taker. And then Isak ended up taking it. Do you think that was putting extra pressure on him, and then could be a countering factor to why he kind of fluffed his lines a little bit?
Maybe. I think you bang on though. He's still, as far as I'm concerned, like the designated pen taker. I know Isak's took quite a few this season, but that's with Wilson being out injured. But like, yeah, Wilson has been the pen taker for as many years as he's been here. So I think though that they must have, like, surprising though, because they must have had discussions with Isak being so close to the Golden Boot, like that any opportunity Isak can get from a penalty, even if Wilson's on the pitch, that he would take it. But yeah, so strange then that Wilson was then trying to whip the ball off him, but like it didn't get messy like the Chelsea situation a few games ago. Like at least it wasn't like that. But yeah, it makes more sense that Isak, if Isak wasn't as like close as he was, then fair enough, Wilson might have a point to be like, yeah, I'm still the pen taker. If that's the case, like, I don't know, you guys might like think otherwise, and that Isak's probably now, and he's right to be the pen taker because of how many he scored previous to that. But Wilson also had a very solid record of pens as well. But yeah, I don't know. It was obviously a bit of a shit pen. Like he definitely fluffed it. And I don't know if, like, I mean, lucky enough for him, it didn't matter because he scored like a minute or two later anyway. So he didn't look like he was too fazed by missing that one. But yeah, I don't know. It could have been a factor.
Like, there's definitely had something in his head that, like, yeah, Wilson's on the pitch, I'm taking it. Like, he usually waits for the keeper to move and then he puts it the other way. But it didn't feel like he done that. He almost like rushed it. Like, if you watch it back, like, he doesn't do that. He doesn't do what he usually does. And it then obviously usually passes it to the side. And he basically passed it straight to the keeper. Like, it was perfect height. Didn't have much power on. But I don't know about Wilson being the designated pen taker. Obviously, as you're saying, he has been in the past. But until, well, probably about an hour after the game, Isak was 1 goal behind Haaland in the end. And then he went and scored 4, so that's pretty much over. But
yeah.
I think in that situation where he was, sorry, where he was 2 goals behind before the game started, I think giving Isak the pen was the right thing to do. Like, even if going forward, Wilson is the designated pen taker, and it's just unfortunate he's fucking went and missed it. And it's the first one we've missed him. It's a fucking long time. The commentator brought it up. It was into double figures how many he would scored in a row, and that's probably going back to Chris Wood bagging them in. Like, that shows like how long it's been since we've actually missed one. But yeah, I was so glad to
scored so many.
Yeah, Gordon's had a few.
He's at least had one.
Yeah, so I was just glad to see him get his goal after. To be fair.
So the other thing with Wilson I was going to mention is, obviously now that he's back and you're seeing kind of firsthand what he can do. It's not just like you're remembering it. Do you sell him in the summer if you get a reasonable offer, or do you extend his contract? If you're the one making the decision at the club, what would you guys do?
That's a tough one, because like Eddie said, and I've heard some of what he said in press conferences, that you cannot you can't find somebody like Wilson like as easy to replace. Like what he offers is, quite. He's like brilliant in and around that 6-yard box. Like, as we've seen, these poachers' effort, like, that's instinct there. That's like built on experience. So yeah, even with all of his injuries, he's still I think hit double figures for the season as well, or he's not far off. I think he's got 10. I don't know, but yeah, it's again those goals we would have to replace, which isn't an easy thing to do. But then how much can we realistically get for him in the market? Like, would we accept 20 million? Like, would we? Would other teams be like, nah, that's too much? Like, it's a hard one to say, really.
So he's got 9 goals in the league and 1 in the cup this season, and obviously I think his appearances are about 19 or something like that. So
it's still a good,
pretty damn good,
good
25
ratio
in total, including the Champions League.
And he's now second place in Newcastle scorers in the Premier League era as well. Obviously Beardsley got some in the old First Division, so it's not exactly true of the top division, but just in the Premier League, yeah, he's up to second. So fair play, like, considering 1, his injury record, and 2, like, he hasn't been with it for that long. And it just shows that, like, how we've struggled to have a striker since Shearer, like, consistently scoring goals and staying here long enough to rack up like 50 goals. Right.
It's just that injury record as well that is the concern, though. Like, as much as when he's available, it's like we've had it before with other strikers, like Michael Owen. Like, when he was available, he scored more times than not, but yeah, he was never available for the majority of his time. And yeah, at least Wilson doesn't come across as much of a prick as Owen, but yeah, he needs to be more available as well. So it's a really hard one, like, because do we cash in on somebody who, while he's fit and scoring and looking back to his best? Like you say, it's a really tough question to answer on what the approach is, because otherwise, yeah, I know we've got Gordon as like somebody who can play in that position, but obviously want to keep him as more of the option out left. But yeah, we would need to, if we were to move him on, we would need to replace him. But I don't know who we would be able to replace him with.
You're not going to get somebody with his output for the money you get for him.
No, not a chance.
And then also, like you say, you want someone who's going to be more available, but also giving you the same output. But it's whether you can bring someone in that you can bring on in the seasons to come. It's not necessary that they have to come in and do it straight away, but they also kind of need to be happy to be second choice as well. where I feel like Wilson next season, he kind of understands that he's not the first choice striker anymore. I don't know, Alex, what would you do? Let's say, just for example, somebody puts 20 million in from.
I think he's got to go for that amount of money.
Oof.
Like 1 year left on his contract. No, I think he's got to go. Like, we could reinvest that into another striker, or even two, if you roll it out over a couple of years. So I saw a funny name mentioned on Twitter earlier, who I haven't heard for quite a while, to be fair. And I'm curious what you would think about it, because I seen it and I was thinking, for the price, it's not a terrible shout. Premier League experience, scored a decent amount of goals when he played there. Tammy Abraham. So I think he's only 26 still. Yeah, he's had a couple of injury concerns in the past, but he's been in the league. He's scored a decent amount of goals when he has played. And like, yeah, you've seen him play. He's a good player with like a decent coaching. Like, I don't think he'd be a terrible replacement. Like, and he wouldn't cost that much either. So, like, a player like that, like, I don't think would be a bad shout. Obviously, like, Toon fans will be clamouring over, like, Sesko or something like that. But, like, that's a £50 million player that you're having to pay there if you want to get him from Leipzig. So, like, someone at, like, a bit of a cut price who knows the league, who's still got plenty of years ahead of him. I'm sure we could do a lot worse, to be fair. Like,
no, he's a very good player. I think, obviously, you can't really compare like for like with Abraham and Wilson in terms of like what they bring. Like, Wilson's a very much more physical player who will dominate centre halves. Abraham maybe a little bit more towards the Isak kind of way of things, with like style, like a bit like playing off the last man. Obviously, not as technically gifted as an Isak, but yeah, he has a proven record. I was thinking more like, you know, but again, it's unlikely that we'd get him for a reasonable fee. But I really rate how Mateta's come on at Palace, and he's a physical kind of player that would be.
He's fucking massive.
He's massive. He bullies defenders. He would be more of a like for like Wilson swap for me, but at the same time, like, you definitely can't expect to bring him in for 20 million for if we sold Wilson for that price. Like, Palace would be holding out for double, if not triple that. So
I think he's just one player of the season, I believe.
Well, he's definitely like one of the most improved players they've had as well, because he didn't look particularly great when he first came, but like this season alone, he's really looked like a strong, like, Premier League quality striker. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, that he's got a premium price. Even Abraham might, like, Roma aren't going to necessarily just sell him for a cut price unless they feel like his injuries are that bad that they just want to get a shot of him, and if he's desperate to get back to the Premier League to try and force back into England reckoning as well. So yeah, I don't know. That's it. It's just once you start coming up with names and thinking of people who could replace Wilson, you start to question, like, is it possible? That's when I'm more leaning towards just sticking with Wilson for another season. Like you say, Sam, he'll know his role now. That he's second choice, but he'll come in and do like a job as well, and still provide goals.
But you've got to think, like the older he gets, the more injuries he's going to pick up as well, and his injury record isn't going to start off with. Like, I just want we need another striker in anyways. If we get Wilson in, I reckon we need two strikers. But we want your backup striker to be a backup, be there, be available, and like, you can't rely on him to be available to give it Isak that rest when he needs it from European competition, which, let's be honest, we should get into now. So You just can't rely on him, unfortunately. And like, if like you could guarantee he'd be fit for the next season, I'd be like, yep, absolutely, give him another year. That injury record, that availability that's the problem for me, and that's why if we did get offered 20 million, that's why I'd snap the hand off. It's nothing to do with his output. It's nothing to do with his goals. It's to do with his fitness and like being available for when we need him. Yeah, that's so. I'd be reluctant to do it, but I just think, yeah, it's just a sensible move to do.
Then do we look at somebody from the Championship? And I know, Sam, you've like said it before, like the lad at Blackburn who, you know, did well against us in the FA Cup, Sammy Smodic. Yeah, obviously Championship top scorer. Would he come in and like be? I mean, he'd be ecstatic to be playing for a club like Newcastle, like considering where he's come from in his career. But do you think he'd like come in and be?
He's on the older side as well, isn't
he? He's 28 or 29. Yeah, so he's just but he's banging form. So he's likely to move on to a Premier League team next season anyway. But it's probably somebody down the lower end of the table. But I don't think Blackburn would necessarily be holding out for a massive fee either. So it's whether or not we're looking at that sort of replacement if we are to sell Wilson.
I'd like to think we're probably going to bring in a younger player, possibly from the Championship or abroad. Anyway,
at least one,
regardless of the Wilson situation. Like we're looking at João Pedro, who we're going to be up against in the next game.
Great segue, great, well done. He's done this before.
And as we move on to the Brighton game, it was obviously good to see Joe Linton and Miggy coming back. Do you think they're in with a shout of starting this game? And even Nick Pope as well was on the bench, remember that?
Yeah, it was nice to see Joe Linton back and Nick Pope.
I thought Miggy was alright when he come on, to be fair. Like three positions as well.
He gets a lot of shit, but it is good to have him back and a bit more depth on the bench, to be fair. And obviously Trippier has been back in training as well today, so I'd expect to see him at least on the bench. I think starting him when we've got Tino playing well, I think it would be a bit daft. I think it's a bit unnecessary, but I think Pope will come back in. I always thought, to be fair, for me, it didn't make sense him coming back on the bench because I thought when he was fit to come back, he'd be straight back in the first team. But maybe he just wanted that extra full week. He knows we haven't got a midweek game in the week past. Give him another full week, and then we've got 3 games to end the season now. And I'm expecting Pope to start. And I mean, there's a chance that Miggy could. I don't think he will. Murphy's been all right. Barnes has been decent. We've got. He was all right. He created a few chances.
I think he had a pretty good game. But I know you've had your.
Who's he had good games against though? Burnley, Sheffield United.
All right. I know you're making a point there. He's good against high end Championship, low end Premier League teams, but he has got quite a few assists now, in the last few games, and Eddie, as you know, if Eddie thinks that you've had a good game, he tends to stick with you until you do an absolute howler. So, but I don't think he's done anything to make him think that.
Yeah, they're having a week between games now as well, so it's not like the mega need for rotation anyway. So I'd expect Murphy to start, but what about Joe Linton? Do you think he comes straight back in? I mean, he looked good when he come on. I know it was kind of like the end of the game where they weren't putting up much of a fight, but
he was putting up a fight though, wasn't he? He flew into a fucking tackle at one point. I think he's got a chance of starting. I think Anderson's obviously been decent. Longstaff's been a bit meh. but obviously Joe gets put on the left-hand side anyway, so it will be him or Anderson who starts, I think. And I think, Longstaff will start no matter what. I'd like to see him come back in, to be fair. Like he looks sharp, he looks bright, and he's just got that little je ne sais quoi about him. Like, you like to see him play. Like, him and Bruno's got the hair bleached again. Like, you can tell they're happy when they're on the pitch together. Like, this is vibes. The Brazilian vibes. I'd be happy to see that come straight back in against Brighton, mate. And it's going to be a fucking scorcher as well, so it's going to be a good day.
I'd like to see it. He's obviously, we've seen the big display for the Sheffield United game. The Brazilian, everybody's like just feeling the love of those two in particular, like, and just like, let the like samba feelings like go. Like, I feel like as well, if you think of it from a tactical point of view as well, in how Brighton are necessarily as well, like they do have some decent players like in the centre of midfield who will try and dictate things. Like, if we're gonna put like somebody on Pascal Gross, like then why not have like Big Joe take that mantle and just dominate him and keep him quiet, and I think that would be a smart move.
Yeah, as well, I'm looking, not to look past Brighton, but I'm really wanting us to smash Man U, so I want Joe Linton firing on all cylinders for that game, so I think it's important to give him a start against Brighton, even if it's 60 minutes, and then get Anderson on. Because I felt a bit harsh for Anderson, actually, that he got dropped to the bench in the Burnley game, but I'm assuming that was more tactical than based off his performances. So I'd like to see Joe Linton start. And coming back round to Nick Pope, I mean, I definitely think he's like miles better keeper than Dubravka, and I'm very happy to see Dubravka move back to the bench, but I'm not sure Eddie will. I don't know. Putting him on the bench could just be putting Pope on the bench for the Burnley game. Could have just been to get him like getting a feeling for the dressing room again and like watching the game, getting his head right for coming back into the team. Or it could be a sign of intent in that you're on the bench until you force your way back in. So Tom, I don't know what you think, but Dubravka didn't have a howler, did he? And like you were saying,
no,
he doesn't tend to drop you unless you have a howler.
Yeah, he hasn't. I mean, there's been a couple of moments in previous games to that he did look, and we've mentioned that before. He's still having some communication issues at times with defenders, but none of that really came.
Well, he did in that game as well. He did have a couple where they were screaming at him to pick the ball up, and he was waiting. He was screamed at to come out for it, but it didn't result in anything. That's the thing.
No, it didn't result in it. But like you say, that probably comes down to the fact that Burnley just weren't clinical enough or quick enough, smart enough, whatever you want to call it, to capitalise on those moments. Whereas, we will definitely not get away with that against Brighton if there's any communication breakdowns with the defence and Dubravka, because they've got very capable players in that attack. Despite Brighton's form being a bit off, like they can turn it on when they need to. But like you say, I'm probably in agreement with you that there wasn't enough for Eddie to necessarily drop him on that basis, but I feel like he kind of will lean towards putting him in against Man U just because of the magnitude of that game. He might just sort of say, right, okay, we'll just have one more week for you to just get yourself like back to full like training and match fitness through doing that and doing another sort of match day of like being involved on the bench and everything else like that, to then get him in for the Man U game. But at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily hate it if he just brought him straight back in for this Brighton game if he is fully ready.
So, like you're saying about Eddie, like if someone's had a good performance, he'll keep them in. Goalkeepers is different. Like whenever any goalkeeper, a first goalkeeper for a top club gets injured, as soon as they're fit, they come back in. Like it's not one of those where you've got the loyalty towards a player, or you've got to wait till he has a bad performance to get dropped, or you've got to fight your way back in. I think like when he's cleared fully medically, I think he's straight back in, which you'd think a week after making it on the bench that he probably is, but I guess we'll see. We'll see come Saturday lunchtime when it's fucking El Scorcho, 22 degrees, 23 degrees. Cannot wait.
Oh, freezing, man.
God, it's going to be fucking roasting.
Oh, Jesus, the God is going to be lifting in there, man, isn't it?
And that's before the sun even comes out.
Right, in that case, let's have a prediction out is. I'm going to dive in first this week and I'm going to go 2-0.
Well, it's a hard one, that, because, like, say, Brighton, all right, their form prior to the last game against Villa was poor, but, you know, they nicked a late winner in that game. So they'll be on a little bit of a high, but they're certainly...
They've got nothing to play for, though,
they've got nothing to play for, yeah. They're out of that, like, running. Like, they were right in it a few weeks ago, and then they've just completely ballsed it up. So
coming all the way up to the Toon, Big Joe Linton staring down.
Well,
he's up in form.
The thing
Wilson
is,
in form.
We smashed them. If you remember last season when we needed to get that win just to make sure that we got in ahead of them into the top four. Like, and again, it's similar situations. I don't want to blow it up as such to call these last three games cup finals, because that's an old cliche, which I think is definitely not the case. These aren't cup finals for us. If they don't go our way, then they don't go our way. But we're not going to lose like too much sleep over it. But we obviously want to perform it well. I think we will, and we'll win. I do think we'll concede. I think I'm going to go 2-1.
I'm going to go with 3-1. 3-1. I was going to go 3-2. 3-1.
Ooh. I hope it's not 3-2. I'll be fucking Jimmy Seat the whole game.
No, I'm confident we've got enough. We'll make enough chances to score a couple.
Last home game of the season as well.
Oi.
So, do you think there'll be some extreme flags coming out from more flags or any sort of displays?
Haven't heard anything so far, but then again, I don't speak to them, so why would I? No, you're right. For the last game, they'll pull out all the stops, like. But it might just be a bit too warm for scarves, so just the flags will do, I think.
Get some fans involved.
I mean, there'll be 50,000 there.
Oh. Well, I wonder how many Brighton will bring up as well, because
I'm
not sure what their away support's like, is it?
Yeah, I think they're well travelled as a supporter base, so
it should make for a decent atmosphere then. And yeah, that'll be tops off for the Toon all game, according to you, if it's going to be 22 degrees.
Pete will be showing off his Rhodes tan, won't he? Let's be honest.
The horse will be on full display.
Yes.
The horse will be neighing.
Right, well, yeah, that's it for another week. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you hit a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell, which Alex only just did this week. So make sure you're checking if you've done it or not, guys. And if you're consuming this as a podcast, do hit the follow button as well, because then you will get it straight to your phone when we upload. And we're on social media at stjames'pod. If you want to interact with us there, let us know what you think the game's going to be in terms of scoreline and predict the starting lineup. We'd love to hear what you guys think. But saying all that, we'll be back next week. Catch you then.
Wanna hear you go